If you type $60,000 into a compound interest calculator, it tells you you'll be a millionaire. If you type it into a mortgage calculator, it tells you you're a real estate baron. They are both lying to your face because calculators don't factor in leaking roofs, eviction courts, or panic attacks at 3 a.m. Meet Chris and Tyler. They are both 28 years old. They make the exact same salary, and they both manage to save exactly $60,000. But what they do with that money will send them down two completely different paths of psychological struggle. Chris takes his 60 grand and uses it as a 20% down payment on a $300,000 rental property. He signs a 30-year mortgage. He gets the keys. He finds a tenant. Chris thinks he just bought passive income. He thinks he is a real estate mogul in the making. What Chris doesn't know is that he didn't buy an asset. He just bought himself an unpaid, highly stressful second job. Tyler goes the other way. He takes his 60 grand and drops it into an S&P 500 index fund. He sets up an automatic transfer of $400 every month. Tyler thinks he just bought financial freedom. He thinks the stock market will quietly make him a millionaire while he sleeps. What Tyler doesn't know is that the stock market is a psychological meat grinder, and over the next 20 years, it will test his sanity in ways he cannot even imagine. If you go online, you will find thousands of videos arguing about real estate versus stocks. The real estate guys show you spreadsheets proving you can get rich using the bank's money. The stock market guys show you compound interest calculators proving that index funds always win. They are both right on paper, but they are both completely wrong in reality because spreadsheets don't factor in human emotion. Calculators don't factor in leaking roofs, eviction courts, or global crises that wipe out 30% of your wealth in a single week. Today, we are going to look at the real math. We are going to follow Chris and Tyler over 20 years. We are going to look at the taxes, the leverage, the hidden fees, and the actual psychological cost of building wealth. And by the end of this video, you are going to see exactly which path makes more money. But more importantly, you will see which path costs more of your soul. Year 1 and 2, the honeymoon phase. Chris gets his first rent check, $2,200. His mortgage is $1,600. That is $600 in pure, unadulterated profit. Chris feels like an absolute financial genius. He goes to a weekend barbecue and tells all his friends about his new passive income. He uses words like leverage and tax deductions, mainly because he heard them on a podcast last week. His friends are impressed. They look at him differently because in our society, we respect keys. We respect physical things you can point at through a car window. Meanwhile, Tyler is sitting in his one-bedroom apartment. He just got his first dividend payment from his broker, $42.16. He doesn't get a key. He doesn't get a deed. When Tyler goes to the same barbecue and says he buys S&P 500 index funds, nobody cares. Nobody asks follow-up questions. Investing in index funds is like watching paint dry. There is zero dopamine. There is zero social status. For the first 2 years, Chris is completely winning the psychological war. He is building equity. The housing market is hot. His property value goes up 20 grand in 24 months. He logs into Zillow every single day just to stare at his estimated home value. Tyler looks at his brokerage app, and the broad market is down 2% for the year. Tyler starts to wonder if he made a massive mistake. He starts wondering if he should sell his index funds and buy real estate like Chris, but Tyler holds because he understands the math. And Chris is about to learn that passive income is the biggest lie ever sold on the internet. Chris thinks the bank gave him a 30-year guarantee on his future. He doesn't realize that in real estate, the mortgage is the only expense that doesn't go up. Years 4 and 5, the reality check. It is 2 a.m. on a Sunday. Chris is sound asleep. His phone rings. It's not a friend. It's his tenant. The water heater in the rental property just flooded the entire basement. Chris drives over in his sweatpants. He spends 2 hours plunging water out of the hallway. He has to call an emergency plumber. That's $1,200. 6 months later, it rains heavily for 3 days. The tenant calls again. The roof is leaking directly into the master bedroom. Chris calls a contractor. That's $8,000 for a new roof. Let's do the math. Chris makes $600 a month in paper profit. That is $7,200 a year in one single weekend. A roof and a water heater completely wiped out 16 months of his passive income. Chris isn't an investor. He is a glorified janitor who took on a massive debt for the privilege of fixing someone else's toilet. And Tyler is still depositing $400 every single month. His portfolio crosses $100,000. He is winning the math game, but Tyler is not happy. Tyler is bored out of his mind. To afford that $400 deposit, he skips vacations. He brings his lunch to work in a plastic container. He drives a rusted Honda. And worse, he logs onto social media and sees his dumbest friend from high school, the guy who failed basic math, just made $500,000 buying a meme coin with a dog on it. Tyler looks at his S&P 500 index fund, returning a safe, boring 9% a year. He feels like a complete idiot. He wants to sell his index funds. He wants to chase the hype. He wants to feel alive. Chris thinks the worst is over now that his roof is fixed. Tyler thinks he is missing out on the greatest wealth transfer in history. They are both looking in the wrong direction because the real storm hasn't even hit them yet. Year 10. Chris is smiling again. His property value has skyrocketed. He logs into Zillow and sees his house is now worth $400,000. He feels like a real estate baron. Then he checks his mail. It's a letter from his mortgage lender. His property has been reassessed by the county. His property taxes just went up by 40%, and because of inflation, his home insurance premium just doubled. Chris thought a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage meant his payments would never change. He was dead wrong. The bank adjusts his escrow account. His monthly payment shoots up by $400. Just like that, his entire profit margin is completely wiped out. He is making $0 a month in profit, but he still has to fix the toilets. He still has to mow the lawn. He is basically subsidizing a home for a stranger. Year 12. Tyler has been disciplined. His portfolio is sitting at a beautiful $200,000. Then, the news breaks. A global crisis, a market panic, a banking collapse. It doesn't matter what the headline is. The stock market drops 30% in 3 weeks. Tyler watches his screen turn violently red. $60,000. Gone. More money than he makes in a year. Evaporated into thin air. Tyler can't eat. He can't sleep. He opens his brokerage app 20 times a day just to punish himself. He is paralyzed by fear. His finger hovers over the sell button. He just wants to stop the bleeding. Chris calls Tyler and laughs. "My house is still physically standing," Chris says. "Your pixels just disappeared." Chris thinks he has won the ultimate victory, but Chris doesn't know that the housing market has laws, and those laws are about to turn his life into a living nightmare. Year 15. The Tenant Trap. It's the first of the month. Chris checks his bank app. The rent check didn't clear. He gets a text message. The tenant says he lost his job. He just needs a few weeks to catch up. Chris is a nice guy. He says, "Okay, that is the biggest financial mistake of his life." Month 2. Nothing. Month 3. The tenant completely stops answering his calls. Chris drives by his property on a Tuesday night. There is a brand new truck in the driveway. The lights are on. The AC is blasting, and Chris is paying for all of it. He calls the police. The officer tells him the most terrifying words in American real estate. It is a civil matter. We can't touch them. And he quickly discovers the brutal, agonizing reality of tenant protection laws in America. Chris is no longer an investor. He is trapped. The legal fees start piling up. $300 an hour just to file paperwork that a judge delays for another 60 days. For 6 agonizing months, the tenant lives there for free. Chris is bleeding cash. He is paying 2 mortgages, his own and the one for the guy stealing from him. When the sheriff finally opens the door, Chris walks inside. The smell hits him first. Stale smoke, rotting garbage, and animal urine. The carpets are ripped to shreds. The drywall has massive holes in it. The appliances are completely trashed. It takes another $12,000 just to make the place livable again, between the lost rent, the lawyers, and the repairs. $30,000, completely vaporized. His passive income empire feels like a prison sentence. Meanwhile, Tyler is fighting a completely different battle, the battle of absolute agonizing boredom. His friends are buying boats. They are posting pictures from Tulum. They are day trading options and bragging about it at the bar. But Tyler doesn't flinch. He is still transferring $400 a month, every single month. When the market crashed, he didn't panic. When the market rallied to all-time highs, he didn't celebrate. He mastered the hardest psychological skill in finance, the ability to do absolutely nothing. Year 20. The final tally. Chris and Tyler are 48 years old now. Let's open the books. Chris has a house worth $600,000. He still owes the bank $130,000. His total equity is $470,000, plus a few $1,000 in leftover rent money. His total net worth sits at roughly $510,000. But here is the catch. Equity doesn't buy groceries. Equity doesn't pay for vacations. His wealth is completely trapped behind drywall and concrete. If he wants to actually touch that money, he has to sell the house. He has to pay 6% to a realtor, and he has to hand over a massive chunk to the IRS. Tyler never fixed a single toilet. His original $60,000 plus his quiet, boring monthly deposits, grew at a historical average rate of 9% a year. His brokerage account is now sitting at $560,000, fully liquid, one click of a mouse, and the money is in his checking account tomorrow morning. Tyler won the math game, but more importantly, he won the freedom game. Chris paid for his wealth with his weekends, his anxiety, and his youth. He spent his Saturdays standing in line at Home Depot. Tyler spent his Saturdays actually living his life. He paid for his wealth with patience. And here is the detail that will make real estate investors absolutely furious. If Tyler had just invested $500 a month instead of $400, he would have crushed Chris by over $100,000. But here is the ultimate brutal truth. The bank got their interest from Chris. The brokers got their fees from Tyler. But the one thing neither of them can ever buy back is the 20 years they spent stressing over the game. The next time someone tells you that real estate is the only way to build generational wealth, ask them one simple question. Did they factor in the price of their own sanity?